So how are you living, Celine?
Living for the city, you know.
What does that even mean?
It is a Stevie Wonder song. Okay.
Okay.
That's all I could think about. That's how I'm living. So just survive in the city of Cape Town.
Yeah, which seems to get harder and harder every day.
Yeah.
Like I moved here at the wrong time. Like the pricing of everything is just like more than I like literally knew you could earn.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Did you move here in summer?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Literally,
Yeah, okay.
we literally moved here like a month and a half ago.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's my girlfriend started a new job and that, and like so
Okay.
we kind of had to come here at
Yeah.
this time, and it's just been interesting because my finances after moving here already, which was like
Yeah.
fucking more money than I've ever spent in my life,
Yeah.
and then now it's like
Now you have to
a
live here.
pizza's 200 rand, and I'm like, what for flour and water? What are you doing here? Like,
It is getting out of control. Yeah. The cocktail prices are insane.
oh yeah, I
Yeah.
can't even imagine. Like,
No, it's horrible. If you want to be a bougie girl and get old fashions like I like, I'm just like, oh, $150 on a freaking old fashioned. Like, okay.
but I assume it's probably a bit cheaper than LA.
Yeah, just a bit cheaper. A tiny bit cheaper. It's getting there though. It's in competition with it.
Yeah, because of all the Americans. Like,
No, because they're all coming here.
yeah, they're trying to-
Welcome to the city, but also please leave.
You've been
Respectfully.
here for quite a while, and you were here before you went to America, right?
Yeah. So I studied here. I did my undergrad here, and then I went to the States for 2 years, and then I came back. So yeah, got the experience, you know. Cape Town is very much the LA of South Africa.
Yeah,
So,
I've been picking that up.
yeah. So that's been interesting. It was so I think I slotted in a bit too comfortably there, but also had like disliked the same things that I dislike about Cape Town. So, so yeah, but here we are.
So I read that you did an engineering degree.
Yes.
Which isn't like just a casual thing someone does like on the side. Like it's not like it's not a BA like kind of situation, you know?
Not with my parents. No, they were it was gonna be that or it like doctor. And I get squeamish if someone gets stabbed in a like vampire series. I definitely was not gonna survive being a doctor. And it was also way too long to study for
Yeah, 7 years.
Knowing that I wanted to be an actor actually. So
Oh, so the whole time you're just like, I'm
Yeah.
just doing this to please my parents.
yeah, pretty much. But
It's a
I
crazy
didn't-
thing to go through.
They needed to like feel secure and feel like their children had, you know, I don't know, a safety net and
Something to fall back on.
something to fall
Just
back
an
on.
engineering degree,
Just
like-
a casual little engineering degree. So it worked that I liked maths and physics and stuff in school. I won't say I liked.
But you're good at them?
I was good at them. I did like physics. I do still like physics. But yeah, engineering, it was rough. I won't lie. Particularly the first 2 years, because by the time it was third year, I was in it. You know, it's like, well, I'm halfway
Now I
there.
know
I can, I can survive this for another 2 years. But the first 2 years, I just kept looking back and kept being like, oh my gosh, my friend from drama is now at film school, and I want to be at film school, and I want to this. So it was really difficult. But yeah, I threatened to quit so many times. Had a lot of interventions from the parents to be like, you respectfully can't quit. So sorry, you got to do this. But yeah, got through it. It was fine. It was really lovely, obviously. Like varsity, you do make your friends for life. And, you know, having the res experience and the student life experience was really like, I can't look back and wish that I hadn't had that. Like I really appreciate the place that it had in my life. But
This just might have been different if it was drama.
yeah,
that you
it
studied.
just would have been kind of cool to like what I was studying, to have an intention of doing it.
Did you perform at all whilst you were doing that?
A little bit. So there were res plays. I was in a res play at some point. I have very little recollection of it, but it was fun. And then I started writing music in third year and started releasing music then, but it wasn't
You hadn't been doing
performance.
music before that, or
I had been writing songs and stuff, but I hadn't like made a song and put it on SoundCloud, you know, prestigious. So that was when I started doing that. And I think it was just a good I needed an artistic outlet, and acting, you can't kind of be half in or half out. You got to be available at all times. And I wasn't. So yeah, I could barely be in the basketball team at varsity. Like that's how taxing engineering was in terms of like the schedule and all that. Like it was really difficult to have an outside life and outside commitments.
Fair enough.
So yeah, it's a little bit all consuming for sure.
And then you decided to make the big bold move to go study drama in LA.
Yeah, that was always the plan. I think that my parents, at least my dad, really thought that I would just change my mind and just be like, nah, it's cool. I'm in engineering now. So he was like gobsmacked when I was like, but film school, what about that? And he was like, what? You're serious about that? Like, I was like, yeah, we talked about this. Yeah, but it was really cool. I did the quickest course I could do that was not like 8 weeks. So I did the 1-year course, acting for film. It was intense. It was like very condensed. It was the New York Film Academy in LA. Cool. Yeah, I didn't want to be in New York, I must admit.
Why not? Like, it seems like from the outside, well, maybe nowadays it's way more rough, but like that used to be like the dream was New York.
Yeah.
Like, you're not like a stage kind of performer, or
no? I think that at the
you
time,
went to TV.
At the time,
movies.
I was like, no, I want to do acting for film. Even though theater had been all I'd done, obviously, because that's all you can do in high school and in varsity and stuff. But I think also just the city. It felt very Joburg, and I'd left Joburg. I was like, I didn't leave Joburg to go be in Joburg in America, So yeah, I think just the lifestyle, I don't know what it is, but I was like, I'm not feeling this. And yeah, because I went there on holiday. My sister had been living on the East Coast at the time. She got a job there. And so we just did like a cute little trip. And I was like, yeah, cool. This is a fun concept. I don't want to live here. So I went to the LA campus, and it was really fun. I think it was the first time I was studying something I intended on using. So it was just a vastly different experience. And the longer courses would have required you to take like maths or English and stuff. And I was like, guys, I can't.
I've already done this. I've got a whole degree in maths.
Please do not make me take a freaking maths class. Yeah, so that was the experience, yeah.
But how was like LA? Because I didn't get to watch Jess Goes West because
God, oh yeah.
I saw the trailer and that, and like it seems obviously there's a lot of misconceptions about South Africa and Africa in general and America, and you were lampooning that a bit.
Yes, it was. Yeah, there was some of that. The thing is, the school that I went to was very international, so I didn't necessarily experience it from other students. I think everyone was kind of used to everyone being from somewhere else. But outside of that, yeah, there were a lot of very ignorant comments made. When I found a hair salon. It took me forever to find a good hair salon. People don't talk about that enough, okay? When you immigrate, you got to find a good hair salon. And one of the owners, like, child was asking me stuff, and I think she was still in high school, and she asked me like all the really ignorant questions that, like, if you were doing a caricature of an American person, you would think they would scratch their heads and ask if like there are lions loose in Africa, kind of thing.
All the jokes to make on Twitter, basically.
Like, really. And I was like, oh, this is, I'm worried about the education system. This girl's in high school. Like,
well, I mean, we can see what's happened with the education system.
I have more cause for concern now. But yeah, that was, so I think like the series was kind of taking all of those experiences. I actually had a blog at the time, and that's where I remember writing this blog post that I couldn't believe this happened. Yeah, and then the web series was just kind of like taking what I was going to make YouTube vlogs and then just making them a series instead. So yeah, I had a good time. I think that there were some really LA TM stuff from like people bragging about like, there was a tweet I saw that was so perfect. It said like, you ask someone in LA how they're doing, and they're like, oh, I have a meeting with HBO in 2 weeks, but I'm good. Like, that is literally how I would overhear all of that kind of. So
Cape Town is the LA of South Africa.
I'm telling you. It's just Showmax instead of HBO.
Hey, and sometimes Netflix.
Sometimes Netflix.
Like your voice is on Netflix.
My voice is on Netflix, sure.
So that's a good step. Like, that's like
I'll say one toe in the door. But yeah, that definitely happened a lot. And I remember being in a cafe and hearing someone talk for like 20 minutes about how a song that she wrote was performed on one of the late night comedy things and whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really wanted her to leave this cafe because I just wanted to have a peaceful little reading my book in a cafe. And now she's screaming about her career. So there was a lot of that. And I did go vegan, I must admit.
Oh,
I did.
Because of the LA influence.
Well, you know.
And how did your African parents feel about that?
They were deeply offended and concerned. And yeah, it was quite something. But there was an abundance of vegan food. So it was like, it was quite normal. But it was not the same when I came back here. And I was like, oh, okay, no, I can't actually survive like this. It's better now. But at the time, it was just not... It was harder. People. There was one vegan restaurant and that was it. So
what's your reasoning for it? Is it the environment, animals?
It was the environment. It was like someone said that they mentioned something about, you know, the global warming or something. And that's how to get me. I'm like, oh, you know what? I will sign away my name. So yeah, I think that's how that was the influence. I spoke to someone who was really cool. I actually wrote on her blog for a bit and she had been vegan for like most of her life, which I hadn't found anywhere. And just chatting with her about it, that was a big influence. I think I interviewed her for a blog post and that was just really cool to get all those insights about the environment and the animals and all of that. So,
and you're still on it now?
I'm flexitarian now.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, so like I don't eat meat very often. I don't buy it either. So it's just like, it's more of a convenience thing, if I'm honest. Just like, it's kind of inconvenient to be at a braai and be like, sorry, you know, so it's just...
You pop into New York Slice and there's no nut margarita. And it's 2 a.m. and you're just like, fine, fuck it.
Yeah. So it's mostly that. Yeah.
You know, I feel you there. I did the veggie thing for a couple of years. Well, like a year and a half. But then I went and lived with my gran and had to cook for them and started cooking meat again. And like, I will be honest with you, I enjoy cooking meat. Okay, I actually like love like the process of all of it. And like, but I'm also, as much as I can, I try to be, you know, veggie centric. Yeah. Like, but
doing your best, as long as you're doing your best.
It just does feel a little pointless, you know, when Taylor Swift is flying around in a private jet.
Honestly, I'm like, you know what? Am I the problem?
Literally.
Is it me? So yeah, I think that also
I take my
helps.
bags with me to Checkers.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. You know what? What is the use of all of that? So yeah, it is very difficult to maintain that hope that like individual action. Sorry, I'm like hopping onto this thing.
No, let's talk.
Yeah, it is just really like, I can do as much as I can as an individual, but there are these corporations that are actually responsible for it. So
and it's like the only way to really change anything is to enact laws, which means getting a law degree.
You know, that sounds like a lot of work.
I mean, historically, that is what's worked. You know, like Nelson Mandela was a lawyer. You know?
Exactly. And I'm like, well,
you've already got an engineering degree. Like,
I've done enough. You know. I've done what I can.
Like, I think that's the cool thing, at least about art, is that you don't necessarily have to make a big difference, like, directly, but you do make people think. Like, that is, like, especially with a lot of what you do, I think, you know, there's a lot of social issues that come through in your work, like, well, at least the videos and stuff that I've seen. And, like, you'd really comment on, you know, what it's like to be in society as a woman to a degree. Yeah. Like, which I've found to be... I don't know, it's just like, it's enlightening and it's cool to see that it's also, so many people agree with you and so many people like, you're expressing this thing that like, you know, yes, finally, someone's saying this.
Yeah. No, it's true. And that's like, it's been quite a journey for me as an artist and like someone who cares about social issues is like owning the fact that like my role here as an artist is to like reflect what's going on and like start conversations and not solve the issue. I'm not saying that I can do it and I'm just pointing out the issue. I'm just being like, here it is.
Isn't this weird?
Yeah. It's quite difficult to accept that that's enough sometimes because I think even some of the comments will be like, well, all you're doing is complaining. And I'm like, okay, that's what I'm doing actually. I'm complaining in an entertaining way and getting people to think so that the people who can make those decisions and can enact that change, like hear all of us complaining. That's how change works. And
literally.
Yeah. And that's what the role of artists has always been. Like when you think about theater in the 90s or like apartheid era theater, like it was.
And music as well.
Yeah, it's important. It's like a timestamp of what was going on at the time and what people were thinking and feeling at the time. And that is important. So as cheesy as it is to be like, artists are important, it really is like, it's such an integral part of societal change, I think is like, it's like a barometer of where people are at.
Which can also be like a bit cringe to look back on when you're watching some stuff from the 90s and you're just like, yo.
Exactly.
You're like, it is of its time.
Yeah. 100%. So yeah.
But you seem to have got quite a interesting journey, at least coming to the comedic song side of things. Because I've listened to like your early stuff and like you're a bit more sincere with the trying to have a music career. Like
yes, yeah. That's such a wonderful way to put it. I actually got a comment on YouTube saying like, oh my gosh, I love your comedic stuff, but like, when are you going to release serious music again? I was like, oh, thank you so much for that. One of 7 fans of my serious music.
I mean, do you have like other serious stuff in the back that you like might release an album?
Yeah, I do. It would definitely be later. It's just not right now.
Yeah. Smart, anyway. Build the name and then
yeah, I don't know, it feels like it would be weird anyway to like pivot into that, but I think there's definitely a part of me that enjoys just being a musician and writing earnestly. But the music thing started, that was like the first thing I think it was, I don't know, I think in terms of like discovering the talents, it was like dancing first, and then maybe singing, and then acting, and then comedy, and then writing, and then comedy. So it was like I wouldn't have thought 20 years ago that like I would ever do stand-up or something, So it's all just been like, oh, I can also do this, and oh, that's weird. Okay, cool, let's try that.
And everything's just built on.
Yes, yeah. So I think the musician thing was like, okay, cool, that's what I can do. I can write a song, I can sing, cool. And then I kind of put that down for a little bit. But my last song was quirky, but it was still a serious song.
Which one was that?
Fancy Love.
Yeah.
It was like the last release that was like, okay, this is cute and whatever, but like that's a real song. And then I don't know what happened after that. I started performing live, and that was really cool. I had 2 originals that I performed live. I realized I needed a lot of vocal training because recording in a studio and performing live, completely different animals. So
that raw mixes.
The one take of it all, it's just like, okay. So that was good. It was like a good like journey. Okay, let me build up the skill and actually get some training, because I had no music training in my whole life. And then the stand-up, the sketch comedy came through, and then from there it was stand-up, and then from there the music just popped along, and I was like, oh yeah, let's combine these 2 things. Like, why not? See what happens.
And when did you start doing that?
About a year ago.
Oh,
actually.
really?
Yeah, but I can't say that I only thought about it a year ago.
It was in the background for a while.
Yeah, I think even as far as like 2020, 2021, the thought of a musical sketch, I don't know where it came from, but I was like, oh, what if I write a song that's a sketch? And then I hadn't seen examples of it. I'm like, live under a rock. I just want you to know, I haven't watched anything. I haven't seen anything. I haven't heard anything. Like, I don't know how I exist on this plane of existence, but
I mean, that's probably an advantage.
Yes and no. So I think it was a lot slower because I didn't know there were examples of that already out in the world. Yeah, if I'd like discovered Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, then I would have known sooner. Like, oh, there's a whole show that's just musical comedy.
But I didn't know this.
Yeah, and like
that's also the thing. There's just too much out there.
There's so much, yeah. But I think maybe in the back of my mind, from like a boyfriend, a guy I dated who showed me like Lonely Island stuff, and I was like, okay, cool, sure, that's a concept. Yeah, and then I just hadn't figured out how to do it yet. So it was just percolating for a little bit. And my first kind of stab at it was in this, I made a sketch, a mockumentary called The Wapidemic.
I saw that, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that was really fun.
I think I actually saw that like when you released it, like before I had any clue who you were. Like, yeah, that was online and all.
Oh my gosh, that's so nice to know. Thank you. And that was really fun. And the musician that I now collaborate with all the time, I said that I wanted a theme song for that was like a remix of WAP, and that was a very like choral, there's some whores in this house, that one. And that was really fun, but like I told her I want to do more comedic stuff like that. So yeah, it was about, and then Capitalism I started writing like actually 2 years before, 2 years ago. And I remember asking a comedian for like feedback on one of the lines, and then I put it aside. I recorded a little demo, I put it aside, we didn't really talk about it, and then something like struck me on the head last year around March, and I was like, I actually don't want to have to choose between singing and comedy. I thought of this musical comedy thing, let me actually get serious about it. So yeah.
Well, it seems like it was a good fucking move for you. Like,
yeah, I think it needed all that time to percolate and like have me figure out, from like all the sketch comedy that I'd done, all the filmmaking, and all of those skills had to get to a certain point so that like by the time I was putting it all together, it made sense. And I was like, yeah.
I think it's because of all of that it's popped off the way it has. Because like the production level of like what you're doing is fucking high.
Yeah.
Like it's for like, you know, TikTok content or whatever.
Yeah.
It's genuinely like on a different level to like what most people are doing.
Yeah.
So what made you go like, I need to invest this much? Whilst everyone else has just got their phones out, walking down the streets talking. You're like, no, okay, we need to get a whole fucking team together. We need to work on this for a few days. Like,
no, that's a good point. I think that like most creatives now, social media had been just this like thorn in my side, you know, just like I have to figure out how to do this because
you've been doing vlogs and stuff. Like, like you're like an early doichi in your own way.
Yeah, I'd been doing like very silly vlogs and I just didn't know how to, I hadn't figured out how to make things for social media, you know, and I'd been,
I feel you there.
Yeah, I'd been like quite a purist with filmmaking. I was like, no, things must be high quality and you will watch it in landscape the way it's meant to be and all that. And Instagram was like, I do not care about your landscape. And so I think it was, like from having a filmmaking background and being like, okay, social media, if I'm going to like go ahead and commit to making content for social media, I'm going to find a way that like I want to keep doing. So I'd experimented with like doing the whole talking to the phone every day thing. And I was like, I hate this. Like I hate
the self-facing camera so fucking much.
I don't want to talk about...
It's the worst invention ever made.
I know. I was like, I don't want to talk about myself every day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to update people on like my daily observations. I hate it. I'm not going to force myself to do it. So even though on TikTok, things that kind of popped off from when I was doing stuff like that, I was like, I don't want to do that all the time though. So like I just kind of disappeared from TikTok for a little bit. And in the filmmaking part was like, okay, cool. I'm going to find a way that I can honor the filmmaker part of me that wants to make like good looking stuff and good quality stuff, but also make it like work on social media because it's a song and it's funny and the opening line is catchy or whatever. And then that was the way to do it. And I think that my intention was like, I want to write sketches for brands, or not want to, but I was like, how else will I make money? I can write a sketch if a company wants me to write, like, you know, like maybe this will show them that I can do this thing. And then
like a proof of concept.
That was, it was just like,
I mean, I could imagine you and the team you're working with actually doing that kind of stuff for other people.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was kind of me being like, okay, this is going to be my portfolio. It's like I did these things. And it wasn't just going to be music. I had a whole pipeline of different kinds of sketches. It was going to be one musical sketch this week, and then 2 weeks later it would be a non-musical sketch. So I could be like, look, I can do all kinds of sketches. Please give me money. You know, that was
But the problem is it takes money to do that.
Oh my gosh, exactly. So yeah, that's how. And then I think I saw a looping video and I was like, oh, that's so smart. That was like also a year before. Hadn't really thought about it again. And then I thought, oh, if I can do all of that, but I want it to be for social media, so I want it to be rewatchable. If I can make that work, let's do it. And
as a songwriter, how is it to write 1.5 minute songs?
a 1.5, like a song that's less than 90 seconds that also makes sense from the last line to the first line.
Yes,
such a challenge. Like I was like, why am I doing this to myself? But it was also such a really
fun.
It was really fun. It was like, okay, how am I going to make sure that it video wise and song wise, it can loop from end to beginning? Was just this like really fun challenge for me. So I think my brain was just so stimulated by like thinking of how to make this work. And I think that like the same thrill I get from screenwriting and like plotting a series or plotting a story, I got the same thing from that. Like, okay, cool, it needs to work. It felt like solving a puzzle, you know? And that was really fun. I must say, I had the time of my life, and it was really nice to see that like all the parts of me that, that have been developing for years can now live and, find a place. This like 40-second thing that has all the things I like doing at once. It was really cool. It was really, really nice. So it started with a very small team. The first 2 sketches were shot in one day.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, with a DP, like maybe a crew of 4 or 5.
Damn, nice.
Yeah. So I think that like the reason I've been able to do things affordably is because I can play 4 different roles and I don't have to hire 4 different people to
writer, director.
Yeah, writer, director, editor, and
you editor? Are you doing the editing for these?
Yeah,
sick. But that's also, hey, look, what's it called? The director of Honora literally just won for writer, director, editor. And it's like, yeah, sometimes actually the director editor thing is a good thing because you're the only person who can like really do the vision. But then also it's like, I used to throw parties on that and I learned how to DJ because I was like, that's one less person to pay.
No, really. It really was that. I was like, well, I can direct it, I can whatever. And I was my own first AD. I was also reining myself in and being like, Céline, you need to stop because we need to move on. We don't have time. And that was kind of crazy.
Because you know the budget, you know the
exactly.
time.
And I think that it was such a lucky find with the team. The DP that I got was we just gelled. Like Mikhail Adam.
Okay.
So we know each other from Politically Aware.
Okay. And cool. So you were doing that before?
Yeah.
This? Okay.
Yeah. That was like beginning of last year. It was just a very busy year. A lot was going on. And one of the things I was doing was Politically Aware. Yeah. And then we just got along. Like we were just idiots on set, you know, and he was really into music and he was really into like old school comedy movies, that kind of stuff. He's a typical filmmaker, you know, he knows all the films and all of that. And so I thought, he kept saying we should make stuff together. And I was like, okay, cool. But I was so shy because he's a big deal. I was like, no, I'm not gonna, he was just being nice. Like, surely not.
I mean, that's how I feel about this podcast. It's like, I can't believe she said yes.
Thank you. And I was like, no, okay, I'm just going to do it. It would be awkward. It felt like asking someone on a date and being like, I know I'm going to see them afterwards and I'm going to see them at work and it'd be really awkward if they said no. I was like, hey, so you know that thing I mentioned? I'm actually kind of serious about it. And it's fine if you don't want to, but I do have a shot list and I do have a mood board and I do have that and I have all the lyrics and I have the song and da-da-da-da. So like I had all the stuff like ready to go. And I think that also like let him know that I was serious.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've always enjoyed making a mood board and a plan, like writing the script for a video. So it was just, and we really were.
I mean, as much as like you're like, well, before I did research and before chatting to you, you seem like this outward performer and, you know, like, but like, it seems like you spend a lot of time alone and like at home with like either pen and pad or like the computer open, right?
Yeah, a lot of that. Yeah. So I think, definitely from knowing how to make sketches and like having sort of like a flow of, okay, I do this first and then I do that and I do this. And I'd had a DP part, like someone who had shot all my sketches up until then, who shot The Wapidemic. His name's Michael Carter. So lovely. And he moved to Joburg. So I was like, I need a new DP who's great.
Because it's also with these relationships, like in film and that, it is about finding the people you can continually collaborate with.
Yes, yeah. And it especially with like a work ethic, that was where like we both respected how the other person worked. And that I think is so important because that needs to be compatible. I can't feel like I have considerably more drive than you do, you know, and vice versa. That's the worst. We've all done that.
Welcome to my life.
So there was already this kind of flow of, okay, I have this set up and now it's time to find a DP and get feedback. And, you know, so I think that, and then eventually he responded and he was like, hey, and he had so many contacts and because he's so respected, I got so many discounts because of him. Nice. And he's the opposite of a gatekeeper, which I've always really loved about him. He's like, why must I hoard this for myself? I'm on board. Let's ask these people, ask that person. So he put me in touch of the owner of Wonderland Film Studios. I had seen them. I'd come across the thing and I was like, there's no freaking ways I'm ever going to ask to film in that because I can't afford it. Like
that's a huge thing
studio
down there.
Gardens, yeah. So I was like, thank you. But, and he's like, use my name. I was like, thank you. I was like, hi, so I know this person and he's my DP. And it was, okay, I had to be a little craftier than that. But it was so generous of him to do that. And I think just because of that, it all worked out. And and then he saw the video, the owner of the studio, he saw it and he was like, oh, damn, let's go serious. Like, yeah, sure, come back, you know? So it was just this really great working relationship that developed and I'm really grateful for it. So a lot of the filmmaker in me was like doing a lot of the work. And then I, at some point, had to be like, okay, now I need to just act and be silly. And then,
How do you actually approach that though? Because it is like acting is a thing where you got to like really like take a bit of time to get into the character or get into the zone for the thing. Like like directing and acting are so completely different because you imagining you're thinking about completely different things. You know, direct to the big picture. Acting, it's like I'm right here, I'm present.
Yeah. That's a really good point. And I really don't know. I know that at some point I do. And then I think because of that, sometimes I want to know what it's like to have someone else direct so that I can actually, because I think that there is just a limit to how good I can do because I can't fully switch off. But I think because I'm spending so much time with the material, as an actor, I know exactly what I need out of this and like what will make this funny, what will make this work. So I think it's like easy to slip into that because I already know technically what needs to happen. I think that's how I kind of do it. Yeah.
And has it been as like a showreel for other work? Has it gotten you any other acting jobs or anything, or writing or anything?
Yes, it has gotten. It's gotten a lot more screenwriting work than I expected.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that it's really strange. Like, I think it got me a lot more comedy work. Like, I was put as more of a support and a headliner more, which I don't think I am yet. If I'm completely honest, I'm like, thank you so much. That's so kind of generous. But like, give me some time.
I mean, let's actually talk about that because it must be fairly difficult to deal with because like you're relatively new to comedy, but you have been catapulted because of the online success into these higher tiers basically. And I know just from working with you and that, like, doing 2 gigs with you, I see you like take performing very fucking seriously and you want to be really good. So I imagine you put a lot of pressure on yourself with these positions you've been put in basically.
Yeah, definitely. And I think in general, I've just had an overall imposter syndrome about stand-up comedy just because I'm like...
That is stand-up comedy, like, because it teaches you very quickly, like, you suck.
Yeah, 100%, yeah. So I think because I don't know, I started it and then I left for like a year or a year and a bit and then came back very tentatively. I think it's kind of... It felt like things happened too quickly. Sure. Like I was like, I did this one little thing and then all of a sudden do this gig and can you do this and then that? And I was like, and I felt like, this is a slight tangent, but not really. But I felt like I became like comedy's diversity hire. And I was like,
talk about it.
No, like, I was like, am I that good or am I just a queer black woman that happens to, like, you're all relieved that I'm also good? Like, that's what it was. And I was like, are you just trying to be like, look, we have a woman on the lineup. Or look, we have a black person on the lineup. And it was really hard to internalize if I'm actually good at this or if I'm just the only one, you know, which I think is a valid question for everyone to ask themselves. But it really did suck to have to reckon with that for a little bit and have to like accept praise and accept, yes, you're good at this and you belong here and you should be here.
But then you're like, why didn't they laugh at the jokes?
Yeah, so it was like, I think that because I'm like happy that I'm good at this thing, but it was like, you know, a lot of questions. And I mean, comedy does make your self-esteem go way up and way down, like, you know, like on a weekly basis.
Even on a nightly basis, like in the same night. Like.
In the same night, that's so true. But it was really cool to... I think from the online stuff, before the online stuff, I think I'm really glad that I got comfortable with like, okay, I have 10 minutes, I have 12 minutes, that's just pure stand-up and like, cool, that's fun. And then I did a parody song and then I was like, cool, now I have 10 minutes of stand-up and I have a parody song and that's kind of cool. But I think, it is. And I think that I'm really glad I had the foundation of doing just quote unquote pure stand-up for a bit because then I knew how to weave in the musical stuff and not entirely depend on it. But yeah, it still is. I think there was a lot of imposter stuff that was like, okay, I still want to build up like a solid 20 minutes of just stand up before I'm put as a headliner, you know, and that was
that would make sense, right?
So it was hard to kind of communicate that because then I don't want to put like doubt in people's minds that I am good enough for this.
Yeah, and you also don't want to like ruin your opportunities. Right?
Exactly. So I think just being like a supporter and opener for like KG Mokhadi was like amazing. And I was like,
you can learn a lot from him because he's so good on stage.
He's so great. And I love his crowd. I love his comedy as well. So it was just like, okay, that's where I'm at and I'm comfortable being here. And I want to be here for a bit, like opening for big acts. That's awesome.
It's really valuable.
And yeah, it's really, really valuable. And, you get to watch the show afterwards and all that stuff and like, cool, amazing.
And you get to see the same thing over and over and you like notice all the subtle differences.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that was really cool. So I think that like to go from, cool, this is where I'm at and I'm happy here, to like, hey, do you want to headline this event? I was like, whoa. Can I actually just build up a little bit more?
But is it also because you are a draw, like basically?
I think so. So I think that like the weird thing is that it added the imposter syndrome, because now it's like now like
people are coming to watch you.
Yes, and I'm like, guys, chill. Like I'm still a baby. I'm still this, and I think it's been a good lesson for me in general in like owning the space that I'm taking and not doubting that I should be here. But yeah, it is a little bit tough, because also the online stuff that I've made were made to be online. They were not made to be live. Like the live stuff I do are completely different to the stuff I put online. And it was this like, am I disappointing people because they want to come to my show and hear my story or capitalism? And like, I'm that's not what I'm giving you here.
But you do include some music and
I do, yeah.
Like I can't even remember the lyrics to "Dog Days Are Over" anymore because I've got "Soft Boys" over like stuck in my head. Like.
Yeah, it's been really, really fun to do that, and I love parodying music. I'm just like, it's been really fun to combine comedy with music. It's been really, really fun. But yeah, I think for a while, comedy is very hierarchical, right? Like you kind of are always aware of where you're at, and I am comfortable with where I'm at, pre the online stuff, and so I wasn't ever feeling like I should be a bigger deal than I am. Like I was like, no, I know where I'm at, and that's cool. This is good. Exactly, it is correct where I'm at. And so I think to kind of feel like at this point I'm more of a draw on a poster or something, it's just like that's a lot of pressure that I'm just not. I wasn't sure I was ready for. But yeah, it's just been, well, that's where I'm at. I can't control that. I can't control that people want people to buy tickets. Yeah. Exactly. And I also need to internalize that this online fame is not just internet fame. It is also translating to real life, and that I should stop discrediting it, because I do that a lot. I really do. Yeah.
But I think that's also probably because of the comedy community might look at you sideways sometimes.
Yeah.
And by the comedy community, I mean, the men.
100,000%. It was very strange the way, because things blew up. Okay, so I went from like 2,000 something followers that I've been at for like 2-3 years to 7,000 after one song, and then to 8,000 after the other song, and then to 40,000 after the third song in the space of like 2 weeks for that last jump. And I was away at the time that happened. So I was like kind of on holiday, meaning to chill, and then I come back to Cape Town straight away to a gig on the day that I land, and things have changed. Like suddenly I've gone up a little rung that I didn't ask to go up.
But you kind of did by making this up.
I did, and I was now having to adjust to people's discomfort around my success. Yeah, and that was really, it was hard for me to sit with, because I'm like, I don't know, I feel like I need to apologize, but because I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to make you feel this way or doubt where you're at because of me. But like, what are you going to do about it?
Creative and sit at home and write stuff. Like maybe you should do the same thing. Maybe work on your craft, motherfucker.
But I think that it was like a way of the hating that would happen. They're like, oh, well, she's just an internet thing, And that was hard to kind of not internalize, because no one's going to say that to you outright. They're not going to come up.
But you heard them all say it before you got famous on the internet.
Exactly.
About other people being like, ugh, it's shit. And like some of it is shit. Like there are certain people where I'm like, yeah, that's whack. But like your stuff, I'm like, no, that's amazing. Like,
thank you. Yeah. So I think it was just really, it was difficult to sit with that and like feel the sincerity versus the insincerity of like, oh wow, I see you blowing up. Okay, well done.
It does seem like the women here at least are very supportive.
Extremely so, and that's been really great, because I think we're all supportive of each other.
Yeah,
and
that's what I've picked up. Like it seems to be like a really dope community. Like
which is great now. I hadn't found it the first time I did stand-up. I actually did for the first time in 2021. And I didn't realize until like Kate Pinchuk kind of plucked me out and was, shout out, done so much for the community, plucked me and was like, we're going to go for coffee and talk about your career. And I was like, no, I don't have a career. I don't want to do comedy. It was all of that.
You're the second person on the podcast who's basically said that Kate like forced them into comedy.
Yeah. And I think that exactly that. I left the first time. I hadn't met her. I did Armchair twice, and then I was put
in 2021, I would assume was a bit rough because of COVID and everything.
Yeah, it was rough. And also I just didn't encounter that many women. And so the people I'd messaged about it, I came into this extreme boys club where all of the men tried to hit on me at some point. And I was just waiting for, and so like I didn't realize
the ones with the girlfriends. And
100%. Yeah. And it was like, I felt like I needed to play nice with these people to keep doing it. I didn't want to do that. So I was just like, I could just focus on making a film. Let's just go and do that. And I didn't realize how much of that had actually affected me. And so she said to me that she's like, I don't want the reason you don't do stand-up is to be because of men. Like, I don't want that. I want it to be like, you're not feeling it, cool. Sick. But like, which I did appreciate because I think it forced me to actually give it a chance. Because I wasn't like, I know like someone like Danielle Duplessis, like she explained the feeling that she had the first time she did stand up. And I was there that night, like that's how we met. And she was like, no, this is what I'm meant to do. And I was like, I never had that feeling about stand up. I was just like, oh, cool, I'm good at this. That's lovely. That is cool. I didn't die.
I hate you now.
I don't know. Like that sounds terrible, but it's like, cool, I can do this thing.
Yeah. That's but you didn't have that rush.
Like. I didn't have the rush. I didn't have like years of thinking of doing this. I think the decision between, hey, let me do stand-up and doing stand-up was like a week.
Crazy.
Yeah, I had never thought about it before. So I think it helped with like, I didn't care that much. It was just like, let me see if this thing can work out. Which is
actually a great way to do your first time, I think.
I think so, yeah. I was like, okay, cool. And so I didn't have that like, yes, I'm where I'm meant to be, And I felt really guilty about that because I was like, I think that's how I should feel. And do I have a right to occupy the space just because I can do it as opposed to like someone else who's a lot more passionate about it? But I think I found the joy in it and I found the fun in it. And I was like, okay, cool. Like only from repetition and from, doing it over and kind of bombing on one night and doing okay on the other and then doing well and all of that. So it was like getting into the swing of it was really valuable. So yeah, I'm glad that I did get the chance to do that and also cultivate this community of like, okay, there's a lot of women in comedy here. And so we can sit and support each other. And yeah, that was really lovely.
Yeah, weirdly enough, it's starting to sound like, because I've been, like I said, like I noticed that there is a lot more of a woman and queer-based community here who do support each other. Yeah. But like it's interesting because it's starting to click that, wow, Kate like actually put a lot of intentional like work into doing that.
Yeah, she really did. And I really appreciate that because I think it can be really lonely and isolating. And I think even something like, for example, not going to gigs alone. It was just like, if you're going to a gig and you don't want to be the only woman on the lineup, or you don't like that you're the only woman on the lineup, just bring another comedian with you so that like the conversation shifts in the room. Because I've been in rooms where I'm the only one on the lineup, it's me and 7 men, and they talk as if I'm not there.
Yep.
And I have to listen to certain...
And you have to be one of the boys if you want to be a part of the conversation.
And I don't feel like I can be like, whoa, how could you say such a thing? And I think that it just brings a little bit of accountability when there's more than one woman in the room. And yeah, and I underestimated the power of just bringing someone else and not being the only one. And yeah, so I feel the same. We're like all continuing the evangelical work of Kate Pinchuk of just like when there's someone else who came, especially there was another Black woman who wanted to do comedy and I was like obsessed. I feel like she worried. She was just like, okay, coming on a bit strong, Céline. But I was like, yes, please do it. And just to kind of bring it through so that it's not a gate-kept space. It's not, I don't want to be the only Black woman in comedy. I don't want to be the only queer Black woman in comedy. I want us all to be here. And yeah, it's just the more of us, the more representation there is and the more other women are inspired to do it, because they're like, oh, okay, I had never thought about it until I saw someone who looked like me doing it. Cool, that's good to know. So,
no, that's 100% the thing. Like it's the thing that comes up often is that a lot of people don't see themselves on stage and so they don't know that they can do it.
Yes.
And like that's what's been dope. It's like how encouraging, like even the people like you and Gassi, like at Armchair with, I'm trying to remember everyone's name, but like Laura and Em, and like they seem to all be encouraging each other, but also wanting more people. And like, what I love about that is like, for me as someone who loves stand-up comedy, it's like, fuck, finally I don't have to hear the same fucking jokes.
Yes, yeah.
And like personally, like I also struggle with groups of dudes kind of thing. Like I don't fit in with the bro culture.
Yes.
And so for me, it's so nice to be able to come and just hang out with people a bit more on my wavelength, you know? Like, I'm grateful that this is happening at this point in time. So
no, that's great. And I think there are a lot of male comics who would feel the same way as you, you know, and just, I think men in general, the society of this like concept of masculinity and needing to be a certain way to fit into that. Yeah, exactly. And that kind of pressure that comes from it. So I think it's really important to diversify in all of those ways.
But then also like with the creepy dudes in comedy and that, has there been less of it now, or is it still one of those things around that you guys just like I've been hearing that woman talk obviously, and like, you know, you'll have certain people who you're like, no, like fuck no, that guy, I don't want to be around him kind of thing.
There's definitely more conversation, and it's from just protecting each other. It's like, okay, this is happening, just watch out for that guy. And even if like young women who like are fangirls or something, you know, of a particular thing, and
in the crowd.
Like not just from the crowd, but even comics who come in and are just like whatever. And I'm like, okay, I see the age gap there, I see the power imbalance there, and I just want to make sure you don't get to a place where you feel like now you can't do comedy unless you know, act in the way that this male comic wants you to. So I think that's where it comes from. It comes from a place of like protecting particularly younger comics. And
it's also like there's no HR in comedy. So.
There isn't. There really isn't, you know, and I think it's also just about like the presence. There is just something powerful in the presence of them, because there's just more accountability. There really just is. If there's only one woman in you know, a group of 10 men, they can kind of pretend she's not there and just talk, you know. But if there's a few, it's a bit less like, okay, maybe we can't say this around them. But
it's also like with the creepy dudes like hitting on women and stuff, and or even like, you know, taking them home and stuff like that. It's when it's none of the dudes, there's no one who's going to be like,
there isn't.
Hey man, that's a little weird. Unfortunately, which is also a fucking problem. And like men need to like, we'll catch a wake up and just be like, hey man, I think that's weird.
100%. I think there needs to be more of that, because it can't all be on us. Like that
literally
work cannot be on us. You can't count on the oppressed to end their oppression. Like it can't be entirely our jobs. And that is the unfortunate part as well. So it's just about keeping each other safe and feeling like they have a space here, I think, because that's the same thing that happened to me, where I just stopped going because I was like, I don't want that to happen to someone else.
Oh, I saw it in Durban with the open mic that like I try to run, where like women would come in there, but because it's such a male heavy space, and as much as I'm like, no, you can do your thing, you can say it, like, just people would stop coming back because like they're hearing and probably getting hit on by like, you know, the dudes, and like it's just like that's not a comfortable space. Like you just want to go to work, you just want to go explore your dreams, and then you've got like some open micer busy trying to give you advice on like, yo, you need to do this, you need to do that, oh, you should come right to my place, like.
It is really unfortunate. Like I think about the guy that a friend of mine advised me when I told him I wanted to do stand-up. He's like, okay, I'm not a good resource, but I know a guy who does it. So message him and ask him for advice and stuff. And I messaged him, and then by the time he responded, I'd already decided on Armchair, and I just went and all of that. But when I met him in person, he had performed that night, and I was like, hey, I'm the girl from Instagram. It's so nice to see you. Like, cool. I'm the one who wanted to wants to get into comedy. And then he kind of made a comment that was like, oh yeah, I was really disappointed that it was about work that you were messaging me or something. And I was like, okay, haha, cool. And I was like, I don't know what to do with that, but I never spoke to him again. Like if I could avoid him, I really could. So I was like, cool, that's not a safe place to go.
Yeah.
Let's try another one. And then here's Liz, let's try that. And so I'm really disappointed or sad that I hadn't met all the like really cool comics now, the safe male comics, as I refer to them as, at the time, because I think
soft boys.
The soft boy comics, they are a very important demographic, because I think that could have been so helpful in creating a safe space for me. But unfortunately, I just met all the ones who one by one made me feel really uncomfortable, and then it just wasn't worth it for me anymore. So I think I think that is the difference in like male dominated spaces for women, is that like it's always, you have to like love it so much and be so good at it to like overcome all of that. And that's not, whereas I found the same with in engineering as well. I went from like one male dominated space to another. Yeah, like there was a friend of mine who's so incredibly smart, like this absolute genius. And she was like, I don't want to work in this because I don't want the bro culture in the office or all that stuff. And I realized that the male engineers didn't have to love it with such a passion because there wasn't that thing to withstand.
Barriers,
yeah, there weren't these barriers. You could kind of like engineering and do it. Whereas women you can't just kind of like it. You have to like really love it so much to justify all the shit that you have to go through to do it. So, and I think that was the same with comedy. It was like, I wasn't convinced that I loved it enough.
Especially when you have other avenues.
Yeah. I was like, I'll go back to writing and acting and all that stuff, you know? So to kind of be given the space to like, okay, let me see if I like it and see how I feel. So that the judgment wasn't coming from like, you know, all of the stuff that I'm withstanding, but it's just, I get to just discover that I enjoy this other form of expression. Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
Well, it's led you to, you did a work in progress, like solo show recently. And you told me before you did it that, because when we performed together, I did a bit about like cults and religion and that.
Yes, yeah.
And you're saying your show touches on like your religious upbringing and your dealings with that.
Yeah. It was really surreal because I didn't realize that I've never told that story. Like I've never actually gone into what it was like growing up religious. And I think a lot of it is because it kind of stays with you. Like you can leave, but you don't feel safe to talk about it and like bring shame upon your family or something, you know? Yeah. So I think that's why even online I've been so, how do I say, I haven't been very vocal about it. I think only on like TikTok, that was where I was like, I was out and I was talking about deconstruction and all that stuff, because that was like a safe place for it, because there are a lot of, and also my family didn't have TikTok, so that worked for me. But I think to bring it into the story of this, the solo show has been really meaningful. I think that I think the like depth of how religion can affect you in a negative way is not really, I don't know that enough attention is given to that.
Well, I think especially not in like Black and African spaces.
But especially that. It's
like, you know, Ricky Gervais has been fucking a dickhead about that shit for a long time.
Yeah.
But there are more nuanced ways to like actually discuss this thing other than it's stupid.
Exactly. You know? I think that is all I've been exposed to, is like white guys talking about religion being stupid.
Yeah.
And I think that ignores the how do I say, the
lived experiences of people.
Exactly. And I think there aren't a lot of Black atheist voices or non-religious voices or agnostic voices and stuff, because the people who get out don't feel like they can talk about it because their whole family still believes. Yeah, especially that. So I think that I've been so silent about it because I'm like, no, I don't want to isolate myself from those communities, and I don't want to like offend them and come off as insensitive. So I think finding a way to talk about it that is very authentic to my experience and that isn't like, how silly is that? You know, but as someone who truly believed, especially, I think that brings a perspective, because it's not just this dismissive, I've never fully believed, so I don't really understand how you could believe it.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh no, I've been there and I understand where every believer is coming from when they're saying these things or thinking these things or living in this way. Yeah. So I think it's been quite a process. Like solo shows really are the worst thing ever to write. Who came up with this? It is the worst experience ever writing a solo show. Oh my gosh. 0 out of 10 do not recommend. But also it's obviously very therapeutic.
Yeah. Like my first show was called Beelzebub, and like it was
I would love to know about your experience.
Well, I was atheist at the age of like 12, and then I like had like midlife crisis when I was like 15 and like found God.
Yeah.
And was, you know, like I felt the power of God, like, and I was saved and went through that experience for a while, and then eventually came out of it and was very angry. Like
hard relates.
It was just like, you've been lying to me.
Yeah.
Like, and just like a lot of the silly stuff when it comes to religion, you know, like with the earth only being 6,000 years old and
Yeah.
the homophobia and the fucking like all of those kind of things. And it was just like, and also, I'll be honest with you, just the idea of God watching me jerk off really fucked with me. like because you also have that sexual like what's it like? It's
Shame.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, of like, no, this is bad and this and
Yeah.
that. So like you feel guilty for masturbating
Yeah.
because God can watch you. And
Yeah.
like, so yeah, when I came out of it, I was kind of like one of those Ricky Gervaisy type of comics.
Yeah.
And as I've gotten older with it, like I've tried to just be a bit more nuanced, I guess. And like,
Yeah.
I'm still like very like, I wouldn't say like anti-religion because I'm very much like, you do your thing, but I kind of hate it when people make their religion something that someone else needs to abide by.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. That's the same thing. And yeah, I think the angry atheist phase is like a necessary stage of deconstruction. I think you need to just go and be mad about it. I had that as well, where it was, and it's understandable because you realize that you've been kind of, for lack of a better term, brainwashed into believing a particular thing. And especially with people being like saved or coming at the like absolute depths of like a breakdown or a crisis or something, that puts you, even just the notion of that putting you in such a vulnerable space, that this thing that's presented as like an all-in-one solution is there. It's just there waiting
there's a
for
father
you.
who loves you.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
And that being, or just noticing how predatory that actually is really hard to deal with. Yeah, and also just the acknowledgement that like the world sucks and we need something, you know, and so I'm like, I get it, have your thing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been saved from addiction, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I think the difficulty in the nuance, and that comes with time, that comes with like going through the angry atheist phase and then coming being like, okay, cool, this may have helped me make sense of things at that time, you know, and that was cool. I needed that then. I can let go of it now, you know, because actually it did more harm than good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like it's been really interesting, and it is something I want to have an ongoing conversation about, because religion it just affects you in ways you don't realize, especially when you are from birth, you know, and that is all you know is true. To kind of be in therapy and realize that religion is still coming up as an issue.
Yeah.
And it's been more than 10 years that I've been out of it. And I'm like, what do you mean? I don't even go here. Like, that's not my.
Meanwhile, you're still anymore. Like praying, but like to no one.
Yes. Or like still shaming myself.
Yeah.
Or still, you know, and there's a lot of that's fused with culture for sure.
Sure.
Like a lot of things about being Congolese or being like over accommodating as a woman and having to, you know, be super subservient and all that, like that comes with both the fusion of religion and culture, and letting go of that has been so enlightening for sure. Yeah. So I think it's just important to kind of look at the harm that religion can do on such a deep and personal basis. I think that's, it was so uncomfortable. I think like in the show, I caught myself being so nervous when I got to that section.
Really?
I'm like, there's probably some religious people here and I don't want them to feel like I'm telling them not to believe. And I'm like, you know.
That's kind of the thing where I'm at with it as well. Like, so before I was like, yeah, I'm going to offend the religious people. And like, if you don't like it, tough shit. And now like I do say things that are like, you know, if you're religious in that, you might clock it and be like, well, fuck you then.
Yeah.
But I'm also just like, I can't censor myself for other people. You know, this is my truth and this is how I see the world.
Yeah.
And like, we don't have to agree on everything either. So there is also that. And it's like, maybe you can see some truth in what I'm saying as well. But if I never say it because I'm worried about, you know, offending someone, that's the thing. Nowadays, it's not, like, I'm not intentionally trying to do it. Yeah. Like, I just think it's a funny fucking joke.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I think that, like, that section of my show as well is what I'm working on the most, because there's a part of it that's not stand-up. Like, I think that works for me, especially because stand-up has... there's like a part of even my comedy career where I've never made it the top priority, the main thing I want to do. It's always one of the things that I like doing and one of the forms of self-expression, and music being the catalyst for like, okay, now I can do a solo show because I can weave in music and I can weave in this and I can make it all happen. I can make it all one piece, one body of work. And And so there's a part of it that's kind of monologue-y, that's less like,
Sure.
ha 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 ha, that more like, this is the deep part of the story that I need to get to. That has been, that was quite challenging, that I also wanted.
Yeah, it adds depth to everything.
Yeah.
And like, it's also necessary, I think. Well, it depends on the type of comedian you are.
Yeah.
Like, obviously a one-liner guy, like, you don't want Anthony Jeselnik going on like a little like thing where he's like, and this is my trauma.
Yes.
But like, I do think with a solo show and with like someone expressing who they are in that show, like a little monologue here and there like creates tension, it creates that gap, it creates that space that then allows people to laugh even harder like afterwards.
And I think like you can something that my director Sophie Jones, shout out,
we love Sophie.
Something that she pointed out, she's like, it's a solo show, you can make it what you want it to be. And I think I had this...
And she's the queen of that.
Yeah. And I think I had this idea that I guess the imposter syndrome, that I'm not a pure comic, that like comedians are going to judge that I'm like, I do this music thing and that's like a cop-out. That's like an easy thing, an easy laugh or an easy clap and stuff. And
Sorry,
I think,
you're multi-talented.
I think it was really nice I went to her saying that I never wanted to be fully a comic and a stand-up comic and pure standing with a mic telling jokes, that was never what I intended to be. And I think I want the solo show to reflect the kind of artist and communicates that I want to be, or storyteller that I want to be. And it's been really nice to just make it my own thing and have a section of it that's not stand up and have a section of it that's a song. And, it's been really lovely to just have the freedom to do that. Yeah. So as much as I know I just said that writing a solo show is the worst thing in the world, I don't take it back, but I'm saying that it's also the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
Two things can be true at the same time. So that's been a really lovely learning experience, I think.
Cool. And then I'm going to ask you the same question. I'll ask everyone to close the show. What is a big mistake you have learned an important lesson from? Oh, dear. That
is a good question. Important mistake. I won't say, it's hard to say a mistake, but definitely a big learning experience. Don't get on xenophobic TikTok.
Oh, Lord.
They will come running. Will come running.
South African online experiences with xenophobia must be like, because I would like a lot of Zimbabwean friends and like,
it was really, I did like a voting day thing and it was like a haha, shout out xenophobes, I can vote. Because I have a South African passport, like an ID, like I'm South African. And they were like, and I essentially was shouting out my parents for like their journey and like, thank you for standing in line so that I could stand in line kind of thing. It was all poetic. When did
you come over? Was it because of
I was
the
a
wars
baby?
And stuff?
Yeah, it really was. They were fleeing conflict. They had like a lot of rebel soldier raids in their home, and like it's so weird. They tell that story in such a comedic way. And I'm like, y'all are traumatized. You should talk to someone. But I guess, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So I kind of was shouting out the beauty of that like, you did this whole thing and thank you, because now I can vote in this country and all that stuff. So I was a baby. I was the last born. So all of my older siblings had more time in Congo than I did. And so, I did that. And then the comments were so rageful. I had people DMing me like, are you okay? Like, that's how bad it got. And I eventually had to just private that video because I was like, it's whack-a-mole at this point. Like, you can't get to all of them. But it was just, the vitriol was like actually really bad for my mental health. I think like that, I was like, I was going to leave it up because I was like, I said what I said and I stand by it. But the way it was affecting my mental health was actually like, I would prefer not to know the details of what these people think.
And then also
of all of us.
I'm sure you're worried about the like real life danger of it.
I was worried about so somehow my mom was told about it. And then she was messaging me like, don't go anywhere alone. And I think that's what got me to be like, okay, this is no longer fun and games. This is no longer like internet fights, but just let's wrap it up, pull it in, So that was really tough. And I think just knowing when to turn off the comments is important. That's it. Like know when to turn off the comments. I had to do that for one of my sketches, take smartphones away from men.
And then they proved the point
They
of
proved
why.
the exact point of why. And it started getting racist. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, I actually, like, if you're just like, oh, you're ugly, sure, I was prepared for that. Like, of course, yeah. Oh, you're ugly. Oh, this, why your arm's so jacked? I'm like, you can go to gym. You can also be jacked if you want. You know, I was prepared for all of that. None of that offended me. But when it started getting to like, they're being racist and Instagram doesn't care about reports. No. They do not care. They don't filter those comments.
Unless you're a sex worker.
Yeah, like they, yeah, exactly. They just don't care. And so, yeah, at some point I was like, I can't handle. I can handle personal attacks, but like stuff that is getting deeply racist, I don't want that on my page, actually. Because I don't want to trigger anyone who's seeing this also and is now going to read the comments. So yeah, know when to turn off the comments is something that I have learned. So I don't regret that video at all. I don't regret either of them. But I think at some point I was like, okay, I need to know when to pack it up and bounce.
But the other side of that is also like, you know, when to share the comments, because you've done quite well with like making more like content out of the comments.
100%. I think.
I thought, by the way, which I think is just a genius move.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that, yeah, there's been a lot of fun that can be had when you realize things are not personal. People are just, their worldview is being questioned, and they are pissed at you for that. You are the reason that they've done that. And it can be really fun. It can really be fun to just be like, you're being silly and I'm not going to entertain it. I think in terms of a mistake, it's thinking that I need to have all the answers to the social issues and making myself responsible for that. And when I'm like, that's not actually my job. That's not what I'm here for. And the people saying, I can't believe you're just complaining about this and you're not doing anything. There are people doing real activist work. You should do this instead of making this song.
Actually, people doing that work are listening to the song and sharing it and saying, this is what I've been saying.
Exactly. So I think just knowing like my place is this, and I don't have to bother with like going out and making that social change. I'm doing my actual job. That is my job as an artist. That's enough. And like someone else can take the baton and run ahead and do the actual social change.
Actual scientists and actual psychologists.
Like, exactly.
And actual lawyers.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it.
Cool. Well, thank you. This has been
Thank you
awesome.
so much for this chat. It's been lovely.